fans.
So what can you tell us about the new show? What do you think old fans will get excited for, and what new fans should be excited for?
I'm really curious to see how people see the things that they love sort of reinterpreted. And I think that that's a great sort of crossroads for old fans and new fans, actually. I think that Karina's done a phenomenal job of sort of updating it and bringing it into the modern world. It's elevating everything from the romance to the social issues, all of it. It's just a more adult show.
And in the images, the trailer, the info, we know it's more like a romantic story. And where does the science fiction part live?
It's interesting. Karina and I both came from a show that was the original was so heavily steeped in mythology. Like even by the time we got to that show, we were beholden to like 7 years of mythology from another show. And so she very wisely said, we're going to take small incremental steps, because every time we sort of take a step forward, you can never take that step backwards. And so in planning for success, we want to grow into a much larger sci-fi arena. But we wanted to really always go back to character, start with emotion, and this sort of like epic love story is what we hope actually is the core. And we'll always, that's like our center circle, and we will always be stepping wider out for the entire show. So we're going to grow there. It'll feel like it's on the periphery, and it will incrementally get larger and larger, fold into that story.
So what's your starting point then on your mythology then?
Our starting point, it's interesting. Our aliens are, in a great way, are going to be a lot like the audience, because they've sort of hit pause and asking a lot of questions themselves. They're going to be learning about their own lives almost as much as the audience is going to be learning. They know a few things, obviously, because they are themselves. But when they start to uncover their mystery, it's the first time that they're looking into this mystery. So it's not like they're holding this big, deep, dark secret and knowing everything and the powers of the universe and why they were here. They know none of those things.
Would you like to see any of the old actors kind of come on the show in a new way, maybe even as a director or just on screen?
Well, we are going to have Sherry Appleby. She's going to direct, which I think is fun. We actually have a crew member that was on the original Roswell the other day, and he was showing me his shirt as a wrap gift, and he brought it in, and he's going to have Sherry sign it, which I think is awesome. We've talked a little bit, like, if it's story permitting, like, you don't want to do anything that's a gimmick, but it's always story driven. So is there a fun way to present something to the audience? But since it is not like it's not a sequel of any way, you'd have to be careful about how those people are introduced. It's not like some of the other reboots they're doing where it's like, it's the next generation of it. It's none of those things. So it's about targeting that, really.
So organic to the story then?
Absolutely. More organic. Or what we always talk about, because we do bounce around time a little bit, so we always, we ask ourselves, like, what would be fun for the audience to see? What would make us lean forward and be excited to see an old cast member in a different way?
Okay, 7 episodes? Or how many episodes?
We're 13 this first season, yeah.
Okay, 13. And then the other question is the other aliens.
Yes.
When will we see the other aliens?
Other aliens meaning?
Maybe the ones who may not, that are different, who weren't part of the original mythology, but
I understand.
Who may be the kind of like the antagonist to our protagonist.
I understand. I understand. Like I said, we're starting at a very, very small place and trying to focus. It's funny, even in breaking these stories, we looked at a lot of like the murder mysteries that are on streaming services right now and really using that as a model. So it's like, how do we bring that to the CW? And we have a cast of awesome actors, and it's about starting with those people first.
Okay.
So other than like the epic love story, what can you say about the other like relationships and dynamics that we'll see between the?
We were trying to give the other aliens, the 3 of them, their own versions of this love story as well. We want people to be just as invested in those ones as well. We have a married couple, and a woman that is keeping a very big secret that is an obstacle to their marriage, and that's juxtaposed with somebody in the pilot that goes and just opens up immediately about what they are. So it's an interesting dynamic. of the things that you can tell significant others, and some people that are friends or family or that can't tell those their significant others those other sort of secrets. And so there's joy in watching what that looks like. And then there's the person in the middle that's kind of watching both and deciding, what do I want to do with my life? Do I press forward? How do I tell the person that I love these things? Which model do I want to do? A secretive route or the one that is completely open? Because watching both of those things, there's traps and a woven path on both sides.
Do you have a projected date of premiere date?
We don't. We know that we're mid-season, and so we're waiting. Maybe they'll tell me today, which will be exciting.
I'm hearing rumors of April 29th, 2019. A very specific date, right?
That is a very specific date.
Yes, that's what I'm hearing rumors of, so
that's
I thought I'd ask you.
That's the first time I heard that date. Okay. I'll give you $5 if that's
you heard
if that's what we got.
There we go.
Yeah.
Be rich.
What do you think it is about New Mexico that makes it such a good setting for science fiction?
It's interesting. Again, coming from the originals, like that show is. I would joke that it is nighttime in bourbon, and our show is daytime in tequila. And the sky is phenomenal. I mean, we're telling a story about aliens, and so it just naturally lends itself to look up. It is beautiful. You just walk outside and turn on the camera, and it's wonderful. And also just sort of like moving around all of New Mexico, there's a great there's a spiritual quality to it. There's a lot of Native American influence. There's art everywhere. There's drawings of aliens everywhere, just naturally, like driving around that area. So it lends itself in a huge way to telling that story.
Have you gotten any feedback from the original author Melinda Metz since the series seems like it's staying true to the original source?
We have one of the things that Karina did is she went back and made in the books the lead, because it's based on the books, not necessarily a reboot of the show, and the lead character lives in that. She was Latina, and that's what Karina went back to the source and was like, this seems relevant to a story of today. So I love that she did that. Yeah.
What made you want to bring this property in particular back?
I was brought in afterwards, but for me, the things that I've heard her say and also appealed to me, it's an interesting cross-section of where we are as a country. Like, there's political things to say about the idea of what it is to be, an illegal alien. And again, like as I was saying, whatever large political thing that we want to say, at its core, it's a story about belonging. All of us want to try to find a home and a place to belong. And that to me seems like a universal story to tell. And then however we want to push or make a metaphor. Also, there's sort of a terrorist metaphor as well, because it's like not everybody from a place is a bad thing, and it's hard to look at someone and say, oh, you're good, you're bad. And we try to play that game across the entire board of all of our characters. Everyone has parts of themselves that are great, parts of themselves that are bad, and how does that unfold?
Was Julie Fleck someone you wanted for directing early on?
I've worked with Julie. Actually, she gave me my first job 10 years ago. And so, I've worked with her multiple times, and I've sort of watched her grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's nothing that she can't do. I think she has a phenomenal story sense, and she's a phenomenal, she's actually, great visualist in post. So this, to me, seemed like the natural extension of where she would go in her career. Yeah.
So what character you in particular you feel like audience members are going to really enjoy, and maybe a surprise character?
I think people are going to really love Michael, just because he has a devil-may-care attitude, and that's always sort of fun to watch. He also is none of them are really in super control of their powers, but him the most, I think, has emotional response. So when he gets angry or happy or a little tipsy, it's fun to watch what that guy's going to do. And also emotionally too, he breaks your heart when you watch him. His own little journey to try to belong, I think, is great. I will say our cast is phenomenal, and even the periphery characters I love to watch, and they bring a great supportive nature to it. They lighten things up, or they help draw out more emotion from all of our characters. I think Maria's another one that people will really like. She's the woman that owns the bar and Liz's best friend from the past. So I think she has a great little slow burn story as well that people are going to find themselves more and more invested in this woman.
How how far do you have this mapped out to? Because we had a chance to. I mean, previously I talked to showrunner for Manifest.
Yeah.
He's got it mapped out through 6 seasons. He knows what the mystery is.
Right.
He knows how he ends the first season, and he knows how he has it mapped through the 6 seasons. So
we have it mapped for the entire length of my children in private school. We have. I'm not sure how far it'll go, but I know that Karina and I have talked about ending points for the story. And really according out to get there. So we know where this is, where it's all going, and just playing that game of like how fast we are getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you.